Good morning to some of you. My name is Emiliano Durante, and thank you all for joining this event, and welcome to Measuring and Accelerating Organizational Agility, which is a series of webinars we started on 6th of January, and for which today we're going to have the third event out of 4. Before to give the floor to the speakers of tonight, I would like to have a little introduction about the PMI and the speakers as well. So, as you know, the PMI, the Project Management Institute, is an organization which is based in the USA, which is a world leader in its field, and it has the main goal to advance the project management profession worldwide. And eventually, the PMI is present also in the UAE through the PMI UAE chapter, which is run 100% by volunteers who have a passion not only for project management, but also for networking, education, professional and personal development. And at the end of the day, we really depends on you in order to make our activities interesting and interactive. And eventually, as a PMI UAE chapter, we are very proud to be in the top 5% worldwide in terms of members. Since 2020, there are some new benefits in being part of the chapter, especially in terms of networking, thanks to our collaborations with several industries and universities, in terms of learning as well, and also in terms of shared knowledge, growth, and events as well. And to make all these possible, of course, it's also important to thank our sponsors, the UAE Ministry of Presidential Affairs and the Dubai Health Authority, and as well our partner IIL, which stands for International Institute for Learning. To find out more about the upcoming events hosted and presented by the PMI UAE chapter, visit our website www.pmiuae.org, or otherwise you can follow us on the social media. Coming to the webinar of tonight, so the webinar of tonight the attendance to this webinar will give you one technical PDU, which will be automatically claimed for you within 4 weeks, as long as you attend at least 80% of the webinar, and of course, as long as you don't keep your screen online and work on something else. And in case within 4 weeks you will not get your PDU, feel free to contact us to the email you see on the screen, which is info@pmiuae.org. So for the webinar of today, we have 2 speakers, which I'm going to introduce in the order they will speak. The first speaker, in order of sequence for tonight, is going to be Sally Elatta. Sally is a mother, she's an entrepreneur. In fact, she's the founder and the CEO of Agility Health, and she's a keynote speaker with more than 2 decades of experience in enterprise business agility transformation. So welcome, Sally. And the second speaker for tonight will be Mohamed Alfaki, who is a business agility and agile consultant who works with executives and managers to lead transformation, and he trained and coached more than 600 people. So welcome to you, Mohamed, as well.
Thank you.
So in case for the future you want to speak in the upcoming webinars, please feel free to reach us out, the event team, in the email you can see on the screen. So thank you all for your attention for this short presentation. I remind you that you can use the Q&A panel in case you have any question, and we are going to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. Now I leave the floor to Sally, and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much, Emiliano. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, where you're at. It's good morning here in the United States. We're really excited to be here with you. Let me share my screen, and then we will get this party started. Oh, you are making me presenter. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so once you guys see the PowerPoint deck, please confirm.
Yes, please.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so thank you again, and welcome to the third webinar in the series of accelerating, measuring and accelerating your organizational agility. If you guys remember, the very first webinar was really around business agility, enterprise business agility. So we took you through a journey that is, what do we need to measure at every level to accelerate our business agility journey? And then the second webinar was about team agility. We really just went into that specific area of teams and focused on it. In this one, we're going to go into team and organizational agility. So we're going to be talking about things like outcomes and OKR and lean portfolio management. We're going to be talking about team. How do we organize team? What is the right structure of teams? How do we assess multiple teams and roll up their data so that we can make informed decisions? And then towards the end, we're going to give you a sneak peek into the digital transformation assessment. A lot of companies today are going through a very massive digital transformation, and they have to figure out where are they today so they can improve. So I think he already did a great job giving you my background. So this is a little bit about me. You can learn what we're known for here in the United States and internationally is really the Agility Health platform, which allows you to measure and improve and use metrics to make decisions. AgileVideos.com is one that I recommend that all of you check out, which is really the fastest way to learn Agile. It's the largest online library. We have over 300 videos, very short, 5, 10, 15-minute videos to help organizations learn Agile at every level, Scrum Masters, product owners, managers, or even executives. And then EBA, which Mohamed is going to take us through EBA today. And EBA is really the strategy model. How do we transform? What should we measure? What are those 7 pillars of transformation? Mohamed, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you, Emmanuel. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Mohamed Alfaki from Qatar. I'm so happy to speak to you in our third webinar. Today, we are going to talk about high level, which is about the organizational agility. So let's start. Sally, could you please go to the second? Okay. What does business agility mean to you? Could you please let us know your idea about business agility? Could you just chat some words in the chat? What does business agility mean to you? Business agility as a word. We have talked about this in our first and second webinar as well. For those who are joining us for the first time, please let us know your idea about business agility. What does it mean for you? Okay.
Yeah, think about way. Organizations that have achieved business agility, how would you describe them? Like, what is it that they do?
Transformation business in adaptive way. This is correct. This is right. Who can else? Okay.
That's wonderful. Hadil said, welcome.
Yeah, business agility means like they can adapt, exactly, adapt for change. That's right also. Thank you for all of you. Okay. Business agility, we define business agility, the ability to adapt to change, learn and pivot, deliver at speed, and thrive in a competitive market. This is the meaning of the business agility. This is the definition of business agility. As you say, business agility is the ability to adapt to change. We're surrounded by a lot of change happening every time across the organization, in the economic, in the climate change, and in terms of epidemic, and so on. So the ability of the organization to adapt to this change its strategy, change its operational model, change its product, its services, the way that provides service. This is the business agility. It's also mean that the organization has the ability to learn and pivot. Also, it has the ability to deliver, not just deliver value, but deliver value at speed and thrive in a competitive market. We have so competition around us, and whether you are in multi-national organization, if this organization has more than thousands of employees, it has to have the ability to change, the ability to adapt. And we all of us know that there are so many companies, there are so many big organizations that were dominant in the market in each industry, and they just gone without and many innovative companies, many new companies replaced them. So it's not about you deliver on time, you deliver the product as you used to do, but it's the ability to adapt to change. Because gone are the days when big eats small. This is what we have seen in the past. But today, it's about the fastest learning organization is eating the slow. So this is the definition of business agility. We have the enterprise business agility journey that created by Agility Help, and we talked in the previous webinars in more details. But we will go to focus today about the organizational agility, which is the third one, and the team of teams agility also. We talked about the team agility. Team agility, it's about the teams that we are in are agile. They learn Scrum. They are organized in functional, in cross-functional teams. Team of team agility, when you have so many teams, 10 teams, 100 teams, they is scaling. They can scale the agile. They have DevOps maturity. They have DevOps practices. They have very good leadership and culture. Also, we will move to the third level, which is about the organizational agility. We will talk a little bit more today about, which is about how we manage the portfolio, how we can manage the value stream, how we can structure our organization in value stream and break the silos between the department. What about the digital transformation? Also, the fourth one is the organizational agility. It's about customer seat at the table. What about the customer? Are we putting the customer on centric of our decisions? Amazon has a culture. Jeff Bezos has empathy seat for the customer in every meeting as a culture. Remember the decision maker that they have to consider the customer in every decision making. So customer seat at the table, it's essential for us. Customer is the boss for the organization, and he can fire everyone. So we have to think about, are we building the right product for the right customer at the right time? What about the talent development and HR transformation? Business agility and agile is not just about the software development and IT departments. It's about we can now adapt agile and business agility in the HR, in finance, in legal, in editing, marketing, and in sales also. And when we do all that, we reach to the enterprise business agility, and this is a journey. You will go through this through the time. So, sorry, could you go? We have a question here. Think about what are the top challenges you face with team of teams and organizational agility. Not as one team with few members, say about 10 members, no. Team of team agility is about more than 3, 5, 10, 100 of teams and across the organization. What are the top challenges that you face? Could you please just mention some of them in the chat? Let us know from your experience, from your perspective, what are the top challenges? Yes, communication. Absolutely, there will be a communication challenges across so many teams. When you have so many teams, you will think about how they can communicate effectively. Great, Adrian, thank you. Conflicts, yes, conflicts and dependencies with the team, I think, which create the conflicts between the mindset, exactly, how we can think enterprisely, how we can think in the whole picture of the organization, not just for one team. So this is a different mindset. Thank you so much. Also, if you have.
We have culture and budget allocation.
Resistant to change. Exactly. This is when you implement, when you try to transform organization or even a team, they will always be the resistant to change. People always resist the change. So this is a culture. We have, during our experience, we have so many challenges that we will present it. Sally, go. Okay. These are the problems that being able to have disrupt information and efficiently, if I can, effectively and efficiently. Yes, thank you so much. These are the top challenges that we have seen across the organizations. Competing business priorities, focus on delivering outputs, not outcomes. And this is one of the main topics that we are going to talk about. Sally will go through this. What is the difference between output and outcomes, and how can you differentiate between output and outcomes, and how can you focus on outcomes, not the outputs. Painful enterprise planning process, because you are going to plan across the organization, not just for one team, for one sprint or two sprint. Also unsustainable peace, burnout, low moral, ineffective team design, cross dependencies. You mentioned the conflicts between the team. We think always about tech versus business team, no portfolio leadership teams. We have the BMO office, but we do not have the portfolio one. And we will go to describe that during the webinar. Leaders are still using command and control. And this is one of the bad culture and habits in the organization. Leaders, when they have the command and control mindset, absolutely and simply, they kill the innovation and the creativity among their team. And you will never hear the voice of your customer, and also you will never hear the voice of your team. No measuring what matters. Teams not empowered to solve problems because of the leadership, ineffective portfolio funding models. So these, you can think about this as a main patterns that we've seen across many organizations. And I think absolutely you will find one or two or three or even all of them in your team or your organization. You can go to the next slide. Okay, we have the enterprise business agility strategy model. First of all, it is not a methodology, it's a strategy model. You will think here strategically. So we're going to think about, we have 7 pillars. The customer seat at the table, lean portfolio management, organizational structure and design, agile framework and mindset, leadership and culture, make it stick. And the 7th one is technology agility. Under all of them, there are the competencies that we are going to talk about. But today, we will just focus on the customer seat at the table and more about lean portfolio management. We will also talk about the organization structure and design, and leadership and culture also, and a little bit about the technology agility. Right, Sally?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have the 10 EBA guiding principles. We've talked about this in the previous webinar. We will just say that these are aligned to the EBA model, the 7 pillars that we have mentioned. So I'm not going to talk about them because all of them, for example, aligning teams to measurable business outcomes, we will dig deep during the webinar today. Also, enable rule agility. It's about the organizational, the structure of the team, and the new enabled rule in the team.
Wonderful. Maybe I'll just say one thing before I go to the next slide, which is when we're thinking about measurement, which is this last one, measure what matters, we're going to share with you a lot of different things to measure. But I want you to know that those are almost like leading indicators. Those are all behaviors and practices that you're going to have to begin to adopt and change so that you can enable. But ultimately, if somebody has to ask me, like, what are the absolute most important metrics that I need to measure? All of them need to roll up to flow, value, quality, and happiness. Flow is how fast are you delivering? Value is, are you actually delivering outcomes and value, not just work? Quality is, are people happy with the quality? And then happiness is really your customers and your employee satisfaction. So almost all of the metrics really will have to finally roll up to those four. So I'll go over here through what do we measure at every level. So at the team level, we talked about this in our last webinar, and we really got deeper into what does team health mean? What does it mean for me to have a healthy team? And we talked about the importance of measuring clarity, performance, leadership, culture, and foundation. At the team of team level, what we're going to cover today is a little bit about product management, product health. Have we really shifted from a purely project mentality into thinking about products and roadmaps and product discovery? And have we matured the role of product owners and product managers? And then at the enterprise business agility level, which we covered a little bit of this in the first webinar, which is EBA, how do we assess those 7 pillars that Mohamed just went through, right? The customer seat at the table, lean portfolio, leadership and culture, like that, the 7 pillars is a little bit of everything. So how do we know where we're doing there? And some of the other things that we measure over here is my portfolio management maturity and also digital transformation. If you are a technology-based company, you might also measure and assess your DevOps maturity. I also want to mention that in the next webinar is all going to be focused around talent development. So how do we assess the current talent that we have from an agility perspective, but truly make sure that we're moving them forward in a much faster way. All right, so EBA, these are the 7 pillars. Again, this just really mimics the 7 pillars that we just showed you. And we recommend that every organization that's adopting and trying to go on this journey, at minimum, does the enterprise business agility maturity assessment to see where they are today and use this as a way of building a roadmap of where should they invest in 2021. But then also, so we call this more of a top down, more at the portfolio level, from a bottom up doing the team health, right? So the team health is, how are my teams doing? Where is it that they need help? Where is it that my teams have obstacles? Because when you're thinking about overall agility and accelerating the journey, you have to find the problems. You have to find where is it? And you don't want to use your gut feel. You don't want to use your emotion. You want to use data as a way of doing that. And so that's why we always recommend understand where have you invested and where do you need to invest in terms of enterprise business agility and also at the team level. Here's an example of what the results look like. Every dot is an individual that answered the questions and the shading is the variance. Variance is do we agree or do we disagree? And the red line is really the average. And as I mentioned in our last webinar, we really just don't like surveys being sent to people because everybody has survey fatigue. Everybody's tired of receiving surveys. So what we recommend as Agility Health is that you certify facilitators and you bring them into what we call measure and grow workshops. So the measure and grow workshops are really facilitated sessions. You've got the right audience coming together. They are answering the questions in terms of crawl, walk, run, fly. And so that's the maturity model that we use. Crawl means I'm at the very early stages like a baby. Walk is I'm starting to get, some good skills around this. Run is I'm actually very proficient. And fly means I can teach this to other people. Like you're really good, you've really mastered this competency, and you can probably teach it to other people. So that's the crawl, walk, run, fly. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is improve the enterprise flow of value. And when we look at the enterprise flow of value, we really look at it in terms of demand and delivery, From a demand perspective, so kind of like the top of the funnel, right? The top of the funnel, you have a lot of this grow and transform, a lot of this strategic work that's coming to you from the executives, from your sales teams. Those are the strategic big projects that are multi-million-dollar in investment, and they're all about growing the business and generating more money. But there's also some projects that are related to transform. Now, the problem is, I wish that was our only demand. We also have something called run the business. And so these delivery teams, the teams that are trying to deliver work, in addition to the grow and transform that's coming strategically at them, they also have run the business, operations, support, infrastructure, keep the business going. And so those two are always competing with each other, right? And that's why we call it run, grow, transform. Those are the three categories. So what I have to begin to do is I have to be able to tighten this funnel. So as all of these requests are coming in, we want to do opportunity assessment. And typically this is done by your portfolio team, right? So if you have a lean portfolio management team, we really want them to be strategic, and we want them to be investigating the opportunities that we should invest in for this year. Is this even the right market? You know, a lot of our oil and gas customers are thinking about what are the adjacent opportunities, you know, close to oil and gas that they can't go into. A lot of our telecommunication companies are saying, how can we get more into IoT and building products? And so a lot of companies today are actually thinking about almost different lines of business that they should be in order for them to survive and thrive in a market. And they're looking for where are the customers and what are their needs, and they're not putting themselves in that box anymore. And I think that's very, very important. You know, when we think about American Express, we think about Amex being, you know, credit cards, right? But now they offer you more things. They also offer you credit, they offer you lending, they might have a bank, you know. So it's okay for you to go into adjacent markets or even new markets. And that's why you really want to do opportunity assessment and make sure that you are disrupting in the market before being disrupted. Because I promise you, a much smaller organization is already doing this research and thinking about how will they take your customers or think about new opportunities in the market. Solution discovery is once we identify the opportunity and define some outcomes of what we think that our potential outcomes are, we now want to test it, nail it before we scale it. So we call it test it, nail it, scale it. And that is where we want to really bring in design thinking and create product discovery teams that can go ahead and prototype rapidly, get feedback and see, is this really what the customers will buy? Is this the actual product? And there is so much evolution that has happened in the world of design thinking and discovery to where some of these prototypes almost look real. I mean, they can even create 3D graphics of your final product as if it's real. And a lot of tools and software now creates very high quality interactive design. So, you know, on your phone, if it's a mobile app, it's like you're clicking, it's like you're actually doing the work. Or if it's a website, then you're clicking. Or if it's a physical device, you can even have a 3D model printed of it. So what you're really trying to do is make sure that you test it, nail it before you scale it. And today the problem that we see is that most organizations have ideas. And I will tell you, some market research has happened, but not detailed enough. I think they sometimes delegate it all as opposed to talk to the real customers. And then these ideas immediately are sent down to be delivered immediately for execution. Priorities are projects are prioritized, funding is allocated, but they don't pause to do solution discovery. They don't pause to get feedback and to make sure that they're not just going to spend another year building a very big thing before they've actually tested it and gotten quicker feedback on it. And that is why there is an emergence of a concept of a discovery team and really bringing that product management and that discovery team and UX design as something that's very critical for organizations. And then, of course, you have delivery. And I think that it's pretty much known right now that Agile Delivery is really the way to deliver products. Small increments, cross-functional teams, give them stability, let them iterate, get feedback. That is how you deliver. You know, the old way of 6 months of planning and design and, you know, 4 months of development and 2 months of testing and then delivering something after 12 months. Everybody knows that's just not the modern way. You're not going to be fast if that's the way that you're going to do it. This is how we flow value, and this is what we're trying to measure and optimize end to end. As we talked about run, grow, transform, there's a lot of competing priorities coming in. There's run the business, grow the business, transform the business. And my recommendation, honestly, just from the experience of all the companies that we've been with is, you can't have one team try to do all three, because those are very competing priorities with each other. I can't be solving bugs and issues and providing support to customers while I have strategic priorities, while you're telling me to innovate. I have to be in a different mindset to innovate. So many customers are creating teams that are dedicated to innovation, and letting them and giving them labs and allowing them to experiment and learn and innovate. And then they are creating teams that can do a mix of run and grow. Some organizations are creating teams that just run the business and use Kanban as an example, and they do service and support and minor enhancements. But some other organizations have decided, no, actually, I want the same teams that are building something new to also be the ones that maintain it. My only caution here is the multitasking effect, which means that make sure that the team is still 70% allocated towards grow, and then maybe only 30% allocated towards run. Anytime you have a team that's 50-50, or run the business is taking more than 50% of their capacity, they're not going to be able to focus on grow. They're going to have unhappy strategic leaders because they're always going to be behind. So when you look at your team's design and you're thinking about where are they allocated, start with tagging the work that they're doing today. Is it run, grow, or transform? And then make sure that you're really letting them focus the right way. So Mohamed, you're going to tell us a little bit about organizational design.
Sure. So these are the challenges that we have, we think about, the design through end-to-end cross-functional team. Are we designing our team on organization or cross-functional team? Are they aligned teams around business outcomes and enable flow? So you have to make sure that this design, this new structure that you design for your team is helping you to align your business outcomes to the outputs and to enable the flow at the same time. Give them stability and focus with the right allocation. So let us see the basic team level that we know, which consists of this triangle. You have the above them the product owner, which know why exactly and what. Why we are going to build this, why we are going to build this feature, developing these services, and what should be in as a features. So we know why and what. We have also the solution vision, which is from IT or from technical background, and he knows how this team will develop this new solution or business vision. And also we have the Scrum Master. All of us know the Scrum Master, who is the facilitator. So you have the team, which is the cross-functional team. Let us think not just about the developing team. Say this is a cross-functional team from HR, from marketing, sales, and so on. And we have the product owner or services owner. Let us name it as this, and he knows, for example, the next feature we have to deliver to the market, and he knows that why we have to develop this feature or we have to develop these services, because it aligns with the vision or the strategy of the organization for the next quarter. So the solution vision has the overall structure of the platform or the services, and why he knows exactly what is the developing going around this feature or this new services, and he tells his team also how to develop this. When we go to the team level, we have so many teams, these 3 teams, maybe 4, 5, 10 teams. Above of them, we have the RTE. For people who are familiar with SAFe, RTE is the release train engineer. He is like the chief of Scrum Masters. And we have platform owner or solution owner or
Mohammed, just sorry, just a quick correction here. If you're not using SAFe, this would be like an Agile program manager or a team of team facilitator. So not everybody uses SAFe, and some people use disciplined Agile and different other ones. So this would be like an Agile program manager here.
Exactly. Can we say it looks like the PMO office, Sally, also?
No, the PMO is one level above. It's at the it's one level above a product.
Okay, good. So we have the product owner or the product manager. He is the chief of the product owner for the team. The main point here is we have the plan for the next 4-7 sprints, as you can see in the right. And let us say that the sprint is about 1 month. So you have the plan for the next 4 months, 5 months. And the team pull from the backlog, from the main backlog. They take the features and the services, the backlog they are going to develop in the next sprint directly from the features that arise from the main backlog developed by the program level. So this is the team of team level. If you have anything you want to say, Sally, here, this.
You know, the only thing I wanted to show, because we in our last session, we talked a lot about measuring the health of a team, and there were some people. Let me just go back over here. The people that said, so how do you roll up that data? So one of the things I was just going to share with you quickly here, I just have it ready, is can you see this roll up view? Yeah. So I wanted to ask people on this call if you could analyze this for me. So I have 5 or 6 teams. They are all operating under a program or a product line. And you did an assessment for each one of them, because we're talking about data here. And this is the result. You rolled up this data. This is the result. What do you guys see as potentially areas that we could focus on? Or what are your observations even? Each line is a team. So every one of those is a team. You can see over here, for those that were not in the last webinar, we are here asking about clarity. Do they have clarity on their vision and purpose, their goals and outcomes? Do they know how to plan? Do they have clarity on roles and responsibilities? Do they have confidence that they're going to meet the current goals? Do they have the right metrics from a delivery perspective? Leadership, do we have the right scrum masters and facilitators? What about the technical and the solution leads that Mohamed just kind of talked about? What about the product owner role? Are they engaged? Do they really prioritize the backlog and provide the leadership? And what about the managers? And how is the culture across those teams? Is it healthy or not? And then what about the basic foundation for agility? So as you look at that, what do you guys see here in this multi-team roll-up view? Because we did not cover this last time.
So says culture. Urinos, there are teams more advanced than others, yeah.
Yep, some teams are. There is issue in performance. Yes, Hadil. There is definitely some issues in performance. Usam is saying leadership is an issue. Where in leadership, you guys? Leadership is big. Which leadership areas would you double click on? Darshan is talking about the skilling issues, which is right over here, cross-skilling. Chris Gilmore is talking about backlog management, yes, for the product owner. There are some confidence issues, absolutely. So they're really good. I'm glad that you guys were able to see that. Let me give you some hints. We don't have to work on everything. So one of the things that we've learned is that there is somewhat correlation. So think about performance is actually almost like output. It's like an end result. And what we found is that foundation and culture directly impact performance. And we also found that leadership, the health of the leadership team directly impacts clarity. Remember, we talked about that in the last webinar. So if I actually feel that this team doesn't have really good clarity, I'm going to look down over here and realize product owners are not engaged, they might not be prioritizing. And so this is a low-hanging fruit because all of the teams are struggling with it. If I have limited funding for training, I don't have a lot of money to do training, then I'm going to look for these opportunities where most of the teams are dipping and make sure that that's where I try to uplift them all. If I have limited coaching money, then I'm going to make sure I focus on the teams that are closest to the center and provide them with coaching and guidance. And then the other thing that I can do is take some of these teams, like this green team that is quite mature, and have them do knowledge transfer and do shadowing sessions with some of those teams that are lower performing. So I'm just giving you a real practical example of how do we use data across the teams. And you always remember us talking about this, not to punish and reward. We don't want to punish and reward the teams. We don't want to even compare the teams. We want to understand how they're doing so that we can make the right decisions about where do we need to help them grow. That was what I was just going to share. Mohamed, do you want me to cover product health, or are you going to go through it?
Yes, go please.
So for product maturity, we talked a lot about this discovery and maturing the role of product managers. And so the dimensions that we're measuring here are a little bit different than the team health. We want to know, do I have the right product leadership? Are we doing the right vision and strategy, opportunity assessment? Are we outcome focused? Does everybody know their role? Do we have the right processes and planning ceremonies? And are we removing obstacles from across the team? The next thing is product discovery. So remember that discovery team that I was talking about, the one that can test it, nail it before we scale it. Do we have the right members in the discovery team? Do we do the right problem and solution analysis before we jump in and say, go, let's build? Are we engaging with the customers and focusing on them? Are we experimenting and learning and testing and measuring via data? And then finally, from a delivery perspective, how well have we designed those teams? Are we designing teams to have a lot of dependency because it's all about who reports to who? Or are we really designing teams to be cross-functional and really optimizing the flow of value between those teams? How mature are those teams from an Agile perspective? How mature are they from a DevOps perspective if they're technology teams? And then remember the metrics that I told you: value, quality, flow, and happiness. In addition to the culture, are we really working as one team? Are we giving teams autonomy? Do they have psychological safety? Do they feel confident to speak up, or are they always afraid of making a mistake? Are you burning them out, or are they working at a sustainable pace? And are they allowed to be creative and innovative? So this is the measurement that we have for a product team, where a product team would come together and assess themselves and identify areas for improvement and decide where is it that they want to improve. And that really helps us begin to think about one level above product is portfolio. So think about, we have teams of teams, as Mohamed showed you, and that is really where the product layer is. And then we have the portfolio. And so when we talk about portfolio, what is the problem we're trying to solve over there? Well, the problem is 95% of the company's employees are not aware of the strategy or don't understand it. They might see some fancy charts, they might see some wonderful, PowerPoint decks, but they really can't articulate to you why are they doing what they're doing. Or even if they know the overall strategy, they can't align their work. Like the work that we are doing as a team, I don't know how it impacts the strategy. So that's the problem we're trying to solve over here. And honestly, lean portfolio management was created to address many issues. One of them is that gap in the strategic alignment and the funding models. The funding models today are so rigid. They're all about starting a project, ending a project, starting a project, ending a project. Even if we finish the valuable stuff on this project and we really should be moving on, the funding model controls how we spend money. So it becomes less about value and a lot more around just get the whole thing done, deliver the big elephant on time, on budget. Focusing on outputs, again, we just talked about this. It's all about deliverables. It's not about, are we actually making a difference? The problem and the risk with that is other smaller companies that are completely focused on outcomes, that are completely talking to the customer, that are always reprioritizing their work, are going to be able to disrupt in the market before you. Lack of alignment causes serious delivery friction because you ask another department to do something for you, but they say, that's not my priority. My boss said that we have a different priority, which means that you have not organized your teams to align around your strategic outcomes. You've organized your teams based on your hierarchy. So all of the people that report to the data VP, all work under the data VP, all of the people that report to engineering or to customer success. You have not thought about creating virtual teams. Virtual means I don't want to change reporting structure, but I do want this team, and this team, or these individuals to work together to achieve a common outcome, because I need them to be aligned, right? Aligned to each other. Constantly shuffling people around with no clear understanding of capacity. I just laugh when I see people that show me a list of their allocation and capacity, and John is on 4 different projects and Adam is on 3 different projects, and this team's working on, and they're so happy because they were able to allocate it down. That's madness. Multitasking does not help you get work done faster. It actually slows down the full funnel. And focus is really what helps you get more work done faster. So the constant moving around of your top performance between priorities just really burns them out. Ineffective prioritization practices. So again, instead of prioritizing, we just pull people, and we always start as opposed to finish the work that's already in progress. So there's a lot here, and we really have to be open and honest that traditional portfolio management practices have been a lot more focused on processes, on metrics, on reports, not necessarily always on small experimentations, on success, on removing obstacles. And so there's a new way. There's a new way of doing this, and we need to be open. We need to be open to this change. We ourselves as change agents should not be resisting it. We should learn about it, embrace it, and think about how do we lead in this new lean portfolio management method. So for lean portfolio management, we want to make sure, what is our objective? Ensure that our strategy is clear and pragmatic and aligned. We want to have clear priorities defined as 1-year outcomes, quarterly outcomes, and quarterly deliverables. We want to be pragmatic with our demand and our capacity. We want to shift our funding model to ensuring outcomes instead of just projects being done. And there's a really great video from Jeff Patton and a diagram that talks about, shifting from outputs to outcomes. And it says, today it's all about work, task, feature, requirement, specifications, ideas. And then, some customers are happy, some customers are not when we release. But later, we really want to maximize outcomes, which is the delivery of actual value to customers, which will make a bottom line impact to the business. And an example is, I really want to create an awesome customer experience. Well, what do I need to do? When I say what do I need to do to accomplish that, those are outputs. I might need to launch a new capability to the market. I might want to redesign the customer journey. I might want to complete 5 different features that were requested by the customers. But when I say, how will I know that I succeeded? So remember the 2 different questions I asked over here. Whatever objective you give me, if the question that I say is, what do you need to do to accomplish this objective? That's the work. That's the output. If I say, how will you measure success? How will you know that you're successful? Then we are talking now about key results and outcomes. And so this concept of outcome-based planning was really inherited from OKRs, which is I want to have an objective and I want to have key results. And I actually also want to have a hypothesis statement. And the hypothesis statement is, here's an example. Here's an example of an OKR. So new and compelling non-medical, I want to launch this new and compelling non-medical small business product. The hypothesis just means our assumption of what's going to, remember, this is just an experiment. All of the work that you're doing is just an experiment. You really don't know if it's going to succeed or not. So we believe that by launching this new non-medical benefits insurance product to the market, we will increase our market share for small businesses. Great. Measured by what? How will you measure success? Well, we want to increase the small business membership. This is now 30,000. We want to get it to 60,000, which means that this is our impact metric. An impact metric, it's the why am I paying for this outcome? This is the actual bottom line metric that I need. It's called the impact metric. Now, the other metrics are called leading indicators. So when you're doing outcomes in OKR, an impact metric is the final result. It's what your sponsor, whoever's paying you, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for these impact metrics. But we as a team need leading indicators. We need to know what are the things that we do have control over that we can start to measure quarter by quarter to help me get to that impact metric. And so, for example, how many quotes did I get? How many applications did I get for the new product? How many hits did I get on the website advertising this product? How many people viewed the marketing campaign for this product? How many customers provided me positive feedback on the prototype of this product? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Those are all leading metrics. They're not the impact metric, but they tell me if I'm moving in the right direction or not. And so a lot of what we talk about here is that what I just showed you is called an outcome card. And we want to really create it at the 3-year level. We want to have 3-year outcomes. We want to break them down. And I think these are the most important is 1-year outcomes, quarterly outcomes, and basically align the work to the outcomes. Today, what we see organizations do is they have 3-year strategy and 3-year goals, which are awesome. Number of memberships and dollar amounts and revenue and costs and wonderful. And then everything else is about the work. It's the projects, it's the initiatives, it's the deliverables. And when we start to teach them outcome-based planning, and that's a very big important offering that we have right now is outcome-based planning, they immediately take their current projects and they rewrite the projects as outcome cards. And I call that putting lipstick on because I'm not trying to justify your current work. That's not the goal of outcome-based planning. I don't want to look at your 300 initiatives and say, okay, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? That's not strategy. Strategy is to start from the top and say, in 3 years, we want it to be here. And this year, by the end of 2021, really, where is it? What are the metrics that we really need to be able to move to make sure that we're moving in the right strategy? And then we work backwards and say, okay, and then how can I break that quarterly? And what is the right work? What is the absolute minimum amount of work that aligns to that strategy? So this, I remember showing this specific picture to many executives and the CIO of MX says, this is the one I want to keep. This really makes a lot of sense to me, which is teams of teams, portfolios, and enterprise need to be aligned around outcomes. And from a funding perspective, I'm really going to fund teams of teams, invest in outcomes, not about projects anymore. From a work perspective, I'm aligning the work, but I also want to align my key results and my performance. And I want to make sure that I'm investing in continuous improvement and identifying obstacles at every level. So my famous quote here is that if you want to align and achieve outcomes across the organization, you have to identify obstacles and uplift those obstacles and remove them so that people can actually start to work well. Last thing I'm going to show you here, and I'm just going to show it to you live because it's easier to understand. So we just looked at these metrics over here and we understand how those teams are doing. And we're going to definitely build a plan of where is it that they need to improve. And so here's an example of those teams. What is their overall agility over time? Are they maturing? Are they not maturing? Are they performing? Are they not performing? The most important thing about measurements and metrics is what are you going to do about it? So measurement without action is worthless data. Measurement without action is worthless data. Trying to gather data and just create fancy dashboard for executives and leaders is really old school. What we are trying to do is gather data so we can be informed and figure out where do we need to help, right? Where are the actual improvement plans and items that teams can work on themselves, that managers can work on, and where is it that you need executives themselves to roll up their sleeve and also help? From a business outcome perspective, again, still aligning around your organizational, your team structure, I want to know what are the 3-year outcomes, quarterly outcomes, 1-year outcomes. That's what we call demand. And then capacity. Capacity is really who are my children? So when I'm at the enterprise level, your child is really normally, not sorry, the word child might not be, but who is going to implement your outcomes will be your portfolios. And if I go into a portfolio, a specific portfolio, and they have outcomes as well, who's going to implement those portfolio outcomes? They need to be aligned down to their product lines. If I go into a product line and I want to see what are their outcomes, the only people that are going to help me implement will be my teams. So when we talk about aligning to outcomes at every level, this is what we mean. We mean that teams of teams, and portfolios are all aligned around what is it that we're trying to do, and are we getting there or are we not getting there this year? So that was the outcome conversation. Feel free if you have questions to post them. I'm almost done here. This is the Digital Transformation Radar. This is beyond the scope to go through in detail, but I did want you to know this is one of our newest radars. And what we recommend that you measure from a digital perspective is your customer and your product strategy. So are we really after the right market, and have we really looked about our digital experience and optimized it? Have you changed your business model to be more aligned to a digital investment? So from a market strategy, have you paused? You don't want to wait too late. You really want to look at how are you in your business going to take advantage of digital technologies. Make sure that your portfolio of investments has really been aligned to digital, changing your operating model and your organizational structure, making sure that your leadership and culture is open to digital, and that you've really looked at even upskilling your leaders and your managers who might have been very used to the old way of working. Looking at your digital talent, you guys are going to have to expend a lot more time assessing and building more product managers, UX designers, data science and engineers that understand machine learning and IoT. From a core technology, really uplifting your existing systems, bringing in cloud and APIs, platform modernization, RPA and process automation, smart technology and Internet of Things, 3D printing, VR, all of those emergent techs. And then make sure that your data is solid from a machine learning, from a visualization and analytics, and from a governance. And then please make sure that your data has trust and compliance. And then definitely measure the metrics behind that. Mohamed, do you want to add anything at all to outcome-based planning or digital transformation before we take questions?
You're amazing. I think everything's covered. Just we have here a comment from George, I think.
George, okay.
Yes, can you look at?
Yeah, sure. Let me go over here. Let's see, George. Interesting. Work is gathering data of systems. I am an automation engineer and looking to this data that shows managing humans. It's so incredible. Thank you, George. Yes, we basically, exactly, we're trying to take that world and science of the mushiness, George, the mushiness of behaviors and practices and beliefs. And do we all agree? Are we all aligned? Because you're not going to transform without changing human behavior, without changing mindsets. Well, how do you measure that? How do you, create that? And what we've learned is you have to bring people together. You have to let them agree on what does crawl, walk, run, fly look like. You have to let them visualize where they are today, and then they themselves have to commit to action. No one from the outside, no consultant or smart, outside expert should come in and tell people what to do. We really want people to measure against these defined metrics, and then they decide, you know what, based on this, I really think that we should invest in better product management or better ownership or whatever the metric leads us to. But we think that it's a very important part of change management is to let the team's voice and the people's voice be what drives the change. So thank you. Yes, Emiliano, we will be able to share this. There's actually, Bridget just sent you guys the evaluation. If you can complete that evaluation for us, we will send you the PowerPoint or the PDF deck. So learn, measure, grow. Learn, measure, grow. That's the final message I want to leave you with. Please help your organization learn at scale. And I hope that you do look into Agile videos as a way to help you do that. So how can I uplift hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, on learning Agile, outcome-based planning, leadership models? That is really how you begin this journey, right? Measurement looks great, but some people are afraid of measurement if they don't feel safe yet, if they think they're going to be punished or rewarded. So I always say, let's learn, and let's make sure that managers and leaders are not going to use the data the wrong way, because you'll never see the truth again. The moment that you use any of the data that I just shared with you to punish or reward the teams or their managers, or if you accidentally create a bonus structure for all the managers that have high-performing teams, they will all become high-performing teams next month, so that the manager can get their bonus, and so you won't see the truth. So please don't monkey with the data, don't mess around with it. Data is really used to help organizations grow and not for punishment and reward. So I recommend starting the journey with learning at scale, and then measure, and then commit to growth. That is how you will accelerate your journey. We'll take a couple of questions here. Again, fill out the survey, you'll get the PDF. If you do want to talk to any of our experts, here's our email address. And if you do want to start your learning journey across your enterprise, check out agilevideos.com. Mohamed, do we have any other questions here from the audience?
Not yet, but I think we have a couple of minutes.
All right, so I'd love to hear your feedback on the chat. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Oh, actually, I think I just saw one. Ahmad, you pointed out earlier in the session that we are eager to come out with product services without properly having the right due diligence, marketing, to talking to end users. Since timing is an important factor in bringing out market to service, how do you balance between not losing the right window to launch and launching the right product and service the users need? Great question, Ahmad. There are a lot of techniques for rapid prototyping. Within 1 week, look up the book that's called The 5-Day Sprint and look up a technique that's called the Mobius loop, right? This is not about taking time. I am not talking about traditional 3 months of market research, focus groups, user analysis, surveys. That's also kind of a little bit, and I'm not saying it's bad. Please do those things if you're doing them. I am saying there are really modern methodologies for rapid design, rapid prototyping, rapid feedback. The worst thing you want to do is build a house without showing the prototype to the people that are going to come in and live there, and then they tell you they want to change too many things. It's too expensive, Ahmad. So, oh, definitely creating an MVP, a minimal, we call it an MVP and then an MMP. An MVP is a minimal viable product and experimenting with it. And I would say I wouldn't even build the MVP until I've tested it first with a prototype. So when you're testing, you use a prototype, low fidelity prototype, high fidelity prototype, get feedback. You build the MVP, and that's nail it, test it, nail it. Then you scale it. And scale it is, hey, we're going to move this to production. We're going to take it across the regions, and we're going to have everybody start using it. Sometimes, Ahmad, when we produce our own Agility Health product, we release a feature, but we only turn it on for a very specific segment of the market and very specific users because we want to get their feedback from it. All right, you guys are amazing. We're out of time. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one, which will be about talent development. How do you assess and measure? Bring your colleagues. Thank you, Darshan. Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you, everybody that's been part of it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sandy.
Thank you,
I think it was a great experience today. Actually, we had a lot of attendees, more than 100. So thanks to all of you guys who joined. And please follow the link you should see in the chat in order to complete the survey, the form, and get the presentation for you as well. It was a fantastic presentation, Sally and Mohamed. Thanks a lot for your time, and hope to see you soon. And thanks to all the attendees, and have a nice evening or a good day, and see you soon. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye. Stay safe.